been all sorts of interesting this game week, and as FPL managers, I know some of us are very disappointed, others are very excited, and that's what it's about. That's what the EPL always brings. And as FPL managers, all that we need to do is to be consistent and keep getting our selections right or very close to right. Let me put it that way. All right. So before we do get into it, this video will be talking about how the game week 4 went. Would give some few tips heading into game week 5 as FPL managers, what you should be considering. A few players you could still keep, others you have to let go of, and what really worked out for some managers this game week. So before we do get into it, this is Inside FPL on the Locker Room Vibes. Kindly hit that subscribe button, like, leave a comment. Let us also know how well you did. So, all right. I ended up, so far, I had 47 points, average being 25. That which shows you that this week was very difficult for most managers. Highest being 91. So let's see what he did right. So he had some Leeds United players. He also had some Fulham players. He had Liverpool players as well, Burnley, and even his bench was quite good. So all in all, he had a very good game. Looking at what some other managers did, so let's look at overall what some managers did and how it's helped them. So round first, in the whole world, he had some Chelsea players. He had City, Liverpool, Spurs, Crystal Palace. Very good selection. Let's go to about fourth. So he had Everton, Crystal Palace, Arsenal, Spurs. He had Chelsea, Liverpool. So very good selection there as well. Let's do one more. So let's go to number 2. So he had Liverpool, he had Nottingham, Bournemouth, he had Spurs, he had Fulham, he had Crystal Palace. So all in all, very good selection. He was above average, which is very good. So that is what it should be about. That is what you should be you should be looking for as FPL managers. So this game week, the fixtures were all sorts of exciting. We had Liverpool beating Everton at home by 2-1. Spurs getting a draw against a Brighton side that led by 2 goals. Burnley, Nottingham Forest playing a one-man draw. Crystal Palace beating West Ham by 2-1. Leeds United beating Wolves by 3-1. Manchester United beating Chelsea by 2-1. Fulham 3-1 against Brentford. Bournemouth, Newcastle, that was a goalless draw. We had Sunderland, Aston Villa. So I thought Aston Villa were going to go home with all 3 points, but I guess Sunderland had a different mind of their own, which ended up as a one-man draw. Same for the City Arsenal match. So City looked like they had gone home with all 3 points, but Martinelli had a different mind of his own. Came in, was assisted by Eze, who also was substituted on later onwards in the game to bring the equalizer for Arsenal. So all in all, this game week, if you had some Liverpool players in Higo Ekitike, that would be a plus for you. So I thought Isak was going to be the starter, but I guess the coach had a different mind, so I'm sure it will affect some FPL managers because most of them would have Isak. Then Brighton Spurs, that was a very tough game, but if you had a winger or you had Kudus, it would have been a plus. So that all in all, it was a good game, as I said in my previous video. So I made mention of some teams that you should have at least a player or 2 from, and looks like Leeds United are a team to look out for. So you should have at least a player from Leeds, a winger from Leeds, let me put it that way, an attacker from Leeds. Crystal Palace also beating West Ham, very, very good game. Manchester United beating Chelsea. Fulham, very solid team. They were able to beat Brentford. So that looked very interesting. Newcastle still struggling. I've still not been able to figure out a player to pick from Newcastle. But it looks all sorts of interesting. At least having a Bournemouth player would give you a clean sheet, so that is a plus. So heading into game week 6, you would want to be very cautious, because now the fixtures are going to be a little bit open, so you'd want to be very calculated with your selection. So we have Brentford, Man U, Chelsea, Brighton, and a whole lot of other interesting matches. So for this, I think you should be looking at, if you didn't have Bruno, at least you could have him for set pieces. You could have one or two, or attackers from Chelsea. Chelsea now, it looks they look to be here and there, so would also want to keep an eye on them. Of course, Liverpool, you should have an attacker. It looks like the defenders are also winning it late for them, so you could have a defender or two if you don't mind. We have Leeds, Bournemouth. It could be an interesting match. So an attacker from both teams won't be bad. City definitely. So if you had Haaland, it would be a plus. Tijani Renders would also be a plus for you. Nottingham, Sunderland, very tricky there. Spurs, Wolves, you should have at least an attacker from Spurs, because now they are proving themselves step by step. Aston Villa, Fulham, very, very, you could have an attacker from Fulham, but it still could go either ways. Newcastle, Arsenal, of course, you should just pick your constants. I think Saka is back, so you can be considering Saka. Gyökeres in the mix if you want a differential striker. And then we end with Everton, West Ham. So definitely have a midfielder and attacker from either team would also help. So it's been all sorts of interesting. I always want to focus on the positions, not the players. Some I would mention the players emphatically, but I would like to mention the positions and allow you to go elsewhere, allow you to go in for your player of suitability. Let me put it that way. So always I'll leave it open for you to pick your players that you feel right. So we'll get that done too as well. It's been, as I said, it's been all sorts of interesting already, and it looks like the main trick, as I said, what worked for most managers this game week was this differentials, the highest so far. His team was just full of differentials, players that most managers were not considering. He had them. He had players from Leeds United. He had players from Burnley. He had some from Fulham, full of differentials. And this is why I say differentials does work, because in game weeks like this, where things get very difficult, selections gets very difficult, a differential would be your best solution, and that is what had worked out for him. So I also applied differential. It wasn't too bad for me. I had a few constants, but he went all out with the differentials, and it was a plus. So you could also keep that in mind heading into some tricky game weeks in the future. And I think heading into game week 6, it will be a good time to use your wild card if you are really not sure of your team, because now it looks like most teams are set. Some players are returning from injury. So you would have Saka coming back. You would have Frimpong coming back. You would have other players coming back. So you would be really okay when it comes to selection. And some teams have a good run over the next few game weeks. So you could easily apply your wild card and just change up your team, get a few players here and there. You can go all out for the most selected, because it does work. If everyone is going for one player, then it should tell you something. You wouldn't go too wrong having a Salah in your team. You wouldn't go too wrong having Haaland in your team. It's always for a purpose. So Arsenal have a good run going. Let's see. Arsenal have a good run. City also have a good run. Let's check. Spurs to have a good run as well. So these are teams you could be easily looking at. Some teams, Everton have a few good runs, good matches coming up. Bournemouth to have a good run coming up. So these are teams you should look at. Arsenal to have a good run coming up. So these are teams that you should look at, get one or two players from them, and you should be okay to go. So all in all, this I've broken it down. We've understood what happened this game week. Differentials helped some top managers this game week. Heading into game week 5, you can consider having a few. You could consider having your wild card, change up your team, bring in players, or players having a good round of games as an FPL manager. So you could consider that as well. And just look at how things are going. You could get a few set piece takers. That too is a plus, so you can go through and see how everything goes for you. So all in all, it's been very interesting. And before we do go, kindly subscribe, like, and leave a comment.